So news this afternoon, the Justice and Correctional Services Ministry ramping up efforts to bring the controversial Gupta brothers to book. Minister Ronald Lamola made submissions today to the United Arab Emirates to have them extradited to South Africa. The Guptas have been implicated in state capture and are facing several charges, including fraud and money laundering. Lamola gave an update on the extradition of various fugitives earlier, including the Guptas and Shepherd Bushiri. NCA reporter Pulele Chwidi-Jones has been following these developments and joins us now. So, Pule, I think the main one really is all about the Guptas. They have submitted papers to the UAE, so it's on track. Talk to us about what the Justice Minister had to say, but also what the National Prosecuting Authority had to say, because they sounded really confident this afternoon, didn't they?
Definitely, Sally, quite a comprehensive media briefing, and the Justice Cluster, of course, saying they're quite confident. In fact, the MPA says it has reached, in fact, this is a milestone in terms of the kind of progression they've made. We do know that this application they've now filed, consisting of both the languages English and Arabic, is in the process of having to be handed to, or rather has been handed over to the law enforcement in the UAE just within the 60 days of the arrest of the Gupta brothers, who also, we do understand, are in custody. But furthermore, what also is important is that the application which has been submitted, should it be successful, then it will also speak to the process of the extradition having to be granted either within the existing extradition treaty or the UN Convention Against Corruption, and the MPA here being quite confident that the multidisciplinary task team they've put together to look into this matter has been quite good and has been compliant in terms of the requirements that are needed within this process. Thereafter, of course, the Minister of Justice, Ronald Lamola, saying that he's also quite confident with the process that has been adhered to by government as well as other law enforcement agencies, also alluding to the fact that while this could take several months, they are quite confident that they are on track in ensuring that there's accountability with the issue of the Gupta that has been under the spotlight for quite some time right now. But perhaps maybe we can listen to what they had to say earlier on in regards to this process.
Extradition of the Gupta brothers from the United Arab Emirates to the Republic of the United Arab Emirates to stand trial on charges of fraud, money laundering in terms of Prevention of Organized Crime Act 1998 and corruption, contravention of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act. The request is made in accordance with the extradition treaty between South Africa and the UAE, as well as the United Nations Conventions Against Corruption, which is a multilateral international convention to which both countries are member states. We can confirm that the extradition request has been duly submitted to the United Arab Emirates Central Authority today. And we can also confirm that this is within the 60 days period within which the Republic of South Africa was expected to submit the request in terms of the treaty.
All right, so that's clear progress regarding the Gupta extradition. Let's move on to the other extradition matter, and that, of course, relates to Pastor Shepherd Bushiri and his wife. They skipped bail November 2020. They're back in Malawi and fighting their extradition back to South Africa, of course, wanted on charges of rape, theft and fraud. What was announced regarding that particular extradition case today?
Well, definitely, what we do understand, Sally, is that the couple has been fighting tooth and nail to avoid having been brought here in South Africa to actually face accountability. This is a case that I've been following quite closely as well. And the last time I remember, the case was before the Magistrate Court in Malawi, which is now having to be transferred to the High Court in Malawi and will begin again on the 5th of August. But basically, the arguments around that case was around the sentiments of whether, the key witnesses allegedly involved in the matter matter should be taken to Malawi to testify physically and ensure that they contribute evidence towards the court matter. But that's been the arguments that have been tabled by the state, saying witnesses have to come by the defense, while the state is objecting that move. And while the process is also still unfolding, what we do understand here is that the matter has been postponed to the 5th of August for both parties, including the state and the defense, to submit fresh submissions within 14 days. But bringing back home, what Lamola has been saying, of course, is that with that as well, they've been quite compliant. They've sent all the prescribed documents and requirements to ensure that they can proceed with this extradition matter, to ensure that the legal teams which have been assigned to look into this matter do know what they're doing, and furthermore to ensure that there is accountability above all. Perhaps we can listen to what you had to say earlier on as well on this matter.
The office of the DPP in Malawi filed a review application to review and set aside the magistrate court's ruling. The review application was heard on 21 July 2021. The DPP in Malawi indicated that judgment was delivered on 8 February 2022. The court ruled in favor of the presiding magistrate, and indicated that extradition hearing in Malawi will be heard in the same fashion as a criminal trial, and that evidence may be heard in a form of sworn affidavits or by way of a virtual or physical testimony. In that regard, the DPP in Malawi indicated that they will inform the NPA in South Africa when witnesses' statements or virtual testimony will be necessary. On 17 June 2022, the Chief Resident Magistrate Court sitting in Lilongwe heard the state's application for an order of the court to refer the matter to the High Court, where the state seeks to ask the High Court the witness dispositions on behalf of the Republic of South Africa must be made before a competent court in South Africa. Judgment is reserved for the 5th of August 2022 in this matter.
Yeah, and I think it just highlights that these cases take time. I want to ask you finally about the extradition matter regarding Manuel Chang. Of course, he's the former Mozambican finance minister, and there is a case ongoing in Mozambique around corruption and fishing licenses, etc. But it was the United States that originally wanted him, and South African, our Justice Minister, wanted to send him back to Mozambique. South African court overturned that, said he's got to go back to the USA. And Ronald Lamola is saying that they're going to fight that. Just explain that for me, please.
Yeah, definitely. He did say that this matter also being currently before the Supreme Court of Appeal. And as it is, we had gotten a note to say that pending the outcome of the SCA, only then will we know the decision around that matter, which for many seemed to be complex. And Ronald Lamola also, of course, explaining that this is a very complex matter that are taking place, providing an update on the efforts that have been made by both the USA and Mozambique to seek the extradition of the former Mozambican finance minister, Manuel Chang. They believe that in their process of having to do this, they'll have to be compliant in terms of submitting the correct requirements, which will back up their move, of which they had explained during this meeting. But furthermore, we do understand that the matter was heard on the 9th of November, and there was an order which set aside the decision and substituting it with an order that Mr. Chang should be extradited to the USA. So these are just some of the matters that have been explained by the Minister of Justice as well. But furthermore, to say that they're looking into this, and as much as they may take time and may take months, they believe that whatever decision they've taken in terms of pursuing some of this matter is, of course, within the adherence of the law.
All right, well, thank you very much for that update. That's our reporter, Pule Lechwiti-Jones. And I think the most important thing that most of us will hang on to out of all of that is that the NPA and the Justice Ministry confident that they've got a strong case to bring the two of the three Gupta brothers back to South Africa to stand trial.